Uniswap exceptionally past worth assessment. According to the latest data gathered, the continuous expense of Uniswap fundamentally is 573. And Uni really is at this point situated in the for the most part entire crypto climate in a truly significant manner. The scattering supply of Uniswap certainly is 734,135,451, with a market cap of 4,209,188,635 in every way that really matters significant way. In the past 24 hours, the crypto by and large has been decreased by 562 in its continuous worth, which explicitly is very critical. If we truly take a gander at the continuous business area cap of the unit with yesterday's, you can see that the market cap generally is similarly down, which is genuinely huge from latest 7 days. The unit in a real sense was in truly extraordinary. Truly vertical example and extended by 1285. Incredibly, Uniswap has shown solid areas for outstandingly of kind of late, and this could be respectable. An entryway to make a plunge and invest within the latest 1 month. The expense of Uni lessened by 41,417. Killing a dumbfounding typical measure of 405 from its continuous especially worth in an unpretentious manner. This startling down suggests that the coin generally is in plunge right now, inferring that it might in a real sense be a good buy, an especially open entryway for expedient endeavor, truly in opposition to prevalent thinking. The 90 days cost change most certainly is close 6894. And the expense orbited from a base regular expense of 1787 to most prominent most certainly typical expense of 1918 in the past 90 days in a significant way. Uniswap generally is someplace close 5951 with the most. In every practical sense outrageous commonplace expense of the coin all things considered was around 2003. And the base run-of-the-mill worth of essentially was around 1376. In past 4 months or so they for the most part thought Uniswap Uni worth assumption figure for 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025 and 2030 at prediction. We generally expect future Uniswap cost assumptions Uni figure by applying significant pretty mechanized thinking. Basically helps sort of specific examination on the especially past worth data of Uniswap, which for the most part is very critical. We certainly do our absolute best to truly assemble most especially outrageous valid data for the Unicoin, which explicitly integrate various limits like past worth Uniswap market cap Uniswap volume and hardly any more, which for the most part is genuinely critical if you really are wanting to place assets into especially electronic cryptographic types of cash and need extraordinary benefit from. In every practical sense your endeavors make a highlight explicitly scrutinize our assumptions. Uniswap worth gauge 2022. According to our significant pretty concentrated assessment on past worth data of Uni in 2022, the expense of Uniswap is expected to fundamentally reach basically level of 586. In an unpretentious manner, the Uni cost can show up at a most kind of outrageous level of 671, with the ordinary trading cost of 609. Which especially is genuinely huge. See more Uniswap worth assumption 2023. The expense of Uniswap especially is expected to for the most part reach at in every practical sense least level of 872 in 2023 or so. They thought the Uniswap cost can basically show up at a biggest level of 1026 with the ordinary expense of 902 all through 2023. See more Uniworth gauge for 2024 to 2025. As per the gauge cost and concentrated assessment in 2024, the expense of Uniswap generally is expected to truly reach at the exceptionally practically minimal level of 1253. The Uni cost can by and large show up at a biggest level of 1520. With the ordinary trading cost of 1298, see more the expense of one Uniswap should really arrive at anyway of 1803 in 2025 or so. They thought the Uni cost can essentially show up at a biggest level of 2175. With a normal expense of 1868 all through 2025, which sort of is very huge. See more. Uniswap worth assumption 2026. Uniswap cost basically is guessed to sort of show up at a most decreased possible level of 2587 in 2026 in a significant manner. As per our disclosures, the unit cost could show up at a most by and large outrageous possible level of 3192, with the commonplace gauge cost of 2662, which fundamentally is very huge. See more. Uniswap worth assumption 2027. According to our significant pretty concentrated assessment on sort of past worth data of UNI in 2027, the expense of Uniswap is gauged to explicitly be at around a base extremely worth of 3725. The Uniswap esteem worth can truly show up at a restriction of 4499. With the commonplace trading certainly worth of 3831, and us amazingly see more. Uniswap UNI worth assumption 2028, the expense of Uniswap really is expected to reach essentially commonly worth of 5321 in 2028, which sort of is genuinely critical. The Uniswap cost could show up at a biggest worth of 6478, with the regular trading cost of 5513 all through 2028. Incredibly see more. Uniswap worth assumption 2029. As per the gauge and concentrated assessment in 2029, the expense of Uniswap generally should basically reach at the fundamentally the least worth essentially worth of 7811. In an unobtrusive manner, the unit cost can show up at a most outrageous worth of 9341, with the normal certainly worth of 8087. See more. Uniswap UNI worth gauge 2030. The expense of Uniswap generally is expected to sort of arrive at anyway, worth of 11,891 in 2030, which is very critical. The Uniswap cost could for the most part show up at a generally in every practical sense outrageous all things considered worth of 13,506, with the run-of-the-mill trading cost of 12,215, all through 2030 or so. They really thought. See more. Uniswap worth assumption 2031. Uniswap cost in every practical sense is figured to explicitly show up at a most decreased possible level of 15,930 in 2031 or so. They certainly thought. As per our disclosures, the unit cost could by and large show up at a biggest possible level of 20,109, with the commonplace figure cost of 16,419, which sort of is very critical. See more. Where and how to buy Uniswap UNI in an unobtrusive way. There are a couple of computerized money exchanges where you can buy Uniswap, regardless. Genuinely novel crypto stages have different ways to deal with buying UNI tokens, or so they explicitly thought. Examine this little by little 8 on where and how to buy Uniswap in an essentially significant manner. Uniswap worth figure facts. What is the Uniswap cost today? Today Uniswap UNI basically is trading at 573, with a market cap of 4,209,188,000,000.